Namaskar, welcome back to Media Scan. This weekend, no big headlines, no issues which are hogging the front pages, but a very special conversation with two special guests who will try to throw light on what is going on in the country at present, at least for the past 1 decade, and what is possible to come in the coming years. I have here with me a very special guest, Swadesh Singh, an academician, but more importantly, an author whose book, The Modian Consensus, is being talked about across intelligentsia, social media platforms, and much more. So, what is really this Modian Consensus and what does it entail? How does it relate to the common citizen on the street? We will be talking to Swadesh Singh on all these issues, but I also have here with me another special guest, an author of well-known repute who has written books on the politics of the current affairs of the country, but more particularly, he was the author who tapped the potential of Narendra Modi as a rising leader many years ago when very few were talking about him in Delhi. I have with me Uday Mahurkar, veteran journalist, author, but today he will be throwing light on the book and issues related to this book. May I add that Uday Mahurkar has also written the foreword for the Modian Consensus. But before I come to Uday Mahurkar, the first question must go to the author Swadesh Singh. Swadesh Singh, on first look, it is difficult to understand why the book was labelled Modian Consensus and what do you really mean by Modian Consensus?
Thank you, Smita ji, for this opportunity. In my view, what I have argued in this book that ideas plays very important role to drive any nation, any society, any state. And when a threshold crosses, the number crosses a sizable number, start following that idea, then emerges a consensus. So what I have done with this book is that I have mapped political history of last 150 years and I have pointed out that there were 4 phases of consensus. I have termed them civilizational consensus, Gandhian consensus, Nehruvian consensus and secular consensus. And I have also argued that in recent years, the kind of politics Prime Minister Modi has done, the kind of programs he has implemented, the kind of vocabulary he has used, it has created another phase of consensus. We have entered a new phase of consensus and the most defining feature of this consensus is Prime Minister Modi himself. That's why I have termed this consensus as Modian Consensus.
So, what does Modian Consensus mean in tangible terms, substantively, when we talk of sector-wise, or how does it touch the life of the people? These are issues we would like to understand from you, sir, for the benefit of our viewers. But before that, I have a very quick query before I move to Uday Mahurkar ji. And my question to you, sir, is, you see, when I was going through the chapters of your book, I realized that in independent India, after Nehruvian Consensus, you have directly jumped to Modian Consensus. Now, the obvious question that arises is, there have been leaders in between who have scored, big majorities in the country, and particularly Rajiv Gandhi ji in one election in '84, and Mrs. Gandhi, who not only got a clear majority in the House earlier, but after the emergency in 1980, she came back with a very good majority. So, how would you justify jumping from Nehruvian Consensus directly to Modian Consensus, considering the fact that there have been leaders who had bigger majorities earlier?
So first thing first, that it's not about any individual, it's about idea. So most defining feature of that consensus definitely can revolve around certain idea. So the phase of Nehruvian Consensus is from 1950 to 1990.
It is not about the number of seats or the vote they command.
It deals with number of seats, the kind of support the ruling party or that particular individual has. But so they transcend the idea of individuality and they become there are certain ideas on which that individual is standing up. So that Nehruvian Consensus also lies after Nehruji, means Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi ji was part of that Nehruvian Consensus. From 1950 to 1990, the 3 pillars of Nehruvian consensus were socialism, secularism and non-alignment. What exactly happened after 1990? This idea of socialism became weak because of disintegration of Soviet Russia, and also the idea of non-alignment, because the word became a unipolar word. So only one pillar of Nehruvian consensus remained there, and that was secular consensus. That's why from 1990 to, if you see the politics from 1990 to 2014, I have termed it as post-Nehruvian consensus or secular consensus. Even the BJP or any party, they used to talk in the language of secularism only. Our secularism is positive secularism, or other secularism is pseudo secularism. Even the kind of leadership which was projected, or the kind of leaders regional party used to have, they used to have some secular or pseudo secular leader with themselves. So I have termed that phase as secular consensus from 1990 to 2014. So
right.
there is,
so secularism is a pillar which remains.
That was the defining feature from 1990 to 2014, which was broken by the new consensus, by Modian consensus. So between Nehruvian consensus and Modian consensus, there is another consensus called secular consensus.
Fine. So Uday Mahurkar ji, first a quick recap of what Swadesh Singh has said, and then I'll come to you on a larger question. First of all, do you think Nehru, after the Nehruvian consensus that Swadesh Singh was referring to, there has been a departure on the secular pillar of the country's thrust?
He's talking about the defining feature of that period, you know. So defining feature of that period was secular consensus. I fully agree with him. It's not about majorities or number of seats. It's more about an idea impacting the nation. So I fully agree with him that that phase should be called secular consensus.
Right. So, but then since you mentioned, my next question flows from that. Sir, when we talk of Modian consensus, we do, the moment you use this term, it gives an impression that if not everybody in the country, at least most of the people in the country must, adhere to the thought of what you call Modian consensus. Now, the question that is being raised by political opponents of Mr. Modi, including a lot of commentariat abroad, the question they raise is that so far the BJP under the leadership of Narendra Modi has not won, a sort of more than half or even touched 50% yet, though they are striving for it in the next election. Under this kind of support in a democracy, would it be fair to use the term consensus?
I think. I fully agree with Swadesh Singh. You see how Mr. Modi has impacted this country. You have to look at it. As a chief minister, his greatest contribution was making development the main agenda of the country. If you remember, development became the main agenda of this. Of course, caste politics was going on side by side, but development became the main agenda. A person, even while playing caste politics, had to perform to get re-elected. So Mr. Modi's impact is manifold and on several fronts. Take Ram now. This controversy is going on. You see, you have to look at the history of this country. You see, during the medieval period, thousands of temples were demolished by invaders. Thereafter, a part of the minority forced partition on this country. After that, you don't get three major temples, the majority community, which is Ayodhya, Mathura and Kashi. So what kind of secularism is this? So that is also a very defining moment. Governance, Mr. Modi has worked wonders. I feel, I have studied his, because I have read two books. One on his governance in Gujarat over a period of 13 years almost, and another on his 3 years as Prime Minister. I feel that the kind of revolution he has brought in governance is something to be seen and understood and appreciated.
Because you mentioned, Mr. Mahurkar, about Ayodhya, Kashi, not typically about these temples only, about the fact that there was a lopsided kind of secularism that was being practiced by the government, successive governments in those years. I will not use the term pseudo-secularism, but it was definitely not fair to all communities. So, since Mr. Modi and his colleagues in the government have always laid thrust on Vikas bhi, Virasat bhi, there must be optimum development which should reach the last man standing in the queue. But we must also have a certain pride in our cultural history, our heritage. So, which of the two do you think is the stronger pillar that has helped in creating this consensus?
It will be difficult to define which of the two has impacted more. But two things which really stand out, so far as Mr. Modi's governance is concerned, that his governance is for everybody. It doesn't differentiate between people on the basis of caste and religion. So that is one part. His governance is basically, if you can call it, is a truly secular governance.
Which means equal respect to
And
all
so far as
faiths.
pride is concerned, I think Mr. Modi has really given a new mantra to this country by his approach, which is based on pride. He believes that every individual, whether he is a chaiwala, whether he is a cobbler, he has something to contribute to the nation.
Right.
So his idiom is such that it appeals to that person's pride and brings out the best out of him in terms of good governance, in terms of his contribution to the nation.
Right, so I'll come back to you because there are more issues involved here. But Swadesh Singh, two things from what Mr. Mahurkar has just flagged for the conversation. Number one, he was talking about how Mr. Modi has succeeded in invoking the pride of every citizen. It doesn't matter what he or she is doing in terms of economy or status. But more importantly, there is a constant, I would say, attack or allegation on this government, while Mr. Mahurkar is calling it true secularism because it gives equal respect to all faiths and communities. There is always a charge of majoritarianism on this government, and lately, in the past few months preceding the Ayodhya, the Pran Pratishtha ceremony in Ayodhya, there has been this attack has become sharper, and this concept that if you do not push or if you do not suppress the sentiments of the majority, then you are labelled a majoritarian government. How do you see this charge playing out in the coming days?
So for that, Miss, I have mentioned in my book that there are three pillars of Modian consensus. One pillar is cultural rootedness, that if you want to remain relevant in the politics of the country and you don't want to become a fringe player, you have to follow the principle of cultural rootedness, that this country has a civilizational history that you have to respect, and Pran Pratishtha was part of that only. In 1951, the first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad ji, he also performed puja at Somnath temple. Even there was opposition by the current then Prime Minister. Second pillar of Modian consensus is welfare of all. Now you cannot just give slogan of Garibi Hatao, you have to do something for the benefit of the common woman standing last in the queue. And third is assertive nationalism. Now you cannot disrespect boundaries of this country, you cannot respect for security of this country, you cannot glorify Naxalism, or you cannot talk about the freedom of Kashmir. If you want to remain relevant in the politics of the country, you have to follow these three principles. Why I have called it consensus? If you see the politics of those who are not part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party, the non-BJP players, even they are following the same kind of politics. The ruling government of Delhi or Bengal or even Kerala for that matter, those who are diametrically opposite to the politics of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they themselves are following these principles of cultural rootedness. They used to claim that they are Kattar Deshbhakt or they are Rambhakt. They used to do performing Chandi Path during election time. So willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly, you have to follow certain principles in politics, and these are the defining features of the country today. And the most important person for that, the person who brought these kind of principle in politics in recent years, that person is Narendra Modi. This is the 10th year of his government, and if you see the popularity chart around the world, means either Morning Consulting or India Today survey, means his popularity is crossing more than 50%. It is around 70 to 80%. It is not possible for any world leader to remain relevant or popular for more than 50% of the population.
Yes, it has been hovering around 76, 77% or even sometimes 78 for almost, through the entire COVID period and
even
COVID period. But you were saying that the reason you are calling it consensus is because Mr. Modi's politics has compelled other players in the political field to, raise the same issues and talk about the same issues, in a way compelling people to play on his own pitch, even if they do not subscribe to the BJP's politics at all, those who are diametrically opposed. To what would you attribute this environment that has been built up by Mr. Modi? Is it because, as a lot of analysts and political pundits keep saying, he is a master communicator whose communication skills compel people, to listen to him whether they like it or not? Or would you say it is because of the consistent efforts of the government or something else?
Yes, very good question. So, if you want to understand the politics of Narendra Modi, so you have to go beyond the allegation of this Hindutva and all, soft Hindutva, hard Hindutva. You need to understand what kind of effort he puts for his politics. Day before yesterday till 3:30 in the night, he was sitting in BJP office, and at 10 a.m. he was in Sindri, Dhanbad, inaugurating new factory. So, this kind of politics, so organizational strength, the kind of technology BJP under his leadership uses, that we need to understand. The politics of Antyodaya. If the Hindutva is one of the core principle of the ruling dispensation, so Antyodaya is again a core defining feature, ideological principle of the current. So, technology, organization, principle of Antyodaya, and above all his own charisma. So, which you are also talking, that even during Corona, the popularity chart was around 78%. So, when you are putting this much of effort, so everyone has to follow, and we say that nothing succeeds like success. That's why everyone is following the politics of Narendra Modi and the kind of allegations you were asking about. So, during Corona, if 80 crore people were getting rations, so have you heard a single news item of single column that there was partiality in the name of religion, caste, creed, region, language? No. If means after performing so much work, means in last 10 years, after giving 4 crore houses, after building 13 crore toilets, after giving rations to more than 80 crore people for 3 years, then he went to Ayodhya and performed Pran Pratishtha of Lord Temple, and he claimed from there that Ram se bada Rashtra, Dev se bada Desh. So, nation is at his heart, and common person, common man and woman at the epicenter of his politics. That's
right.
why he is succeeding day by day.
I'll come to one important part. We have talked about the cultural rootedness that you were pointing out and about his development work. Uday Mahorkar, one thing which, we have also been following successive governments, even before when Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister, even governments prior to Mr. Vajpayee, and then the tenure of UPA rule. All through the period, one thing that has been, constantly, when we speak to common people, particularly in the villages, that is about corruption. Successive governments have come up with very interesting ideas of schemes and, public welfare programs. What happens is the best of the programs which are designed somehow do not reach the person they are meant for, because there is so much corruption in the system that by the time the things reach, there is nothing left to disburse. And do you think one reason this consensus is emerging, people are forced to follow the politics set out by Mr. Modi, even if they do not subscribe to his political ideology, is because he has ensured that what goes from Delhi must reach the person it is meant for. That citizen should be getting all of it, not some part of it, or on the basis of, doling out public welfare, but looking at the caste or community or the status of the beneficiary.
I fully agree with you. You see, so far as corruption is concerned, Mr. Modi has actually ushered a revolution, if you look at it. As a long-term observer of his governance from his Gujarat days, I can tell you that India is saving at least 3 to 4 lakh crores per year because of the plugging of holes done by him using technology. So, delivery, when it was claimed as 100% earlier, was never beyond 50% or hovered around 50%. Today, the delivery is around 80%, 90% in case of schemes like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It is 95%. So, this is a big revolution, direct benefit transfer, and the way he has done it, direct benefit transfer was brought by UPA government, but there were no bank accounts. So, he through Jan Dhan Yojana, he opened not less than 42 crore bank accounts in the country, maybe more.
50 crore.
And most of them are live.
Most of them are live.
Because they are being used to transfer the benefits.
You see, earlier, suppose you went to take a payment by check, whether it was a farmer, whether it was a contractor, you to pay something underhand to the clerk or to the accountant. But today, that whole thing has gone.
So you are saying that it is
saving 3 to 4 lakh crores per year, it is my assessment.
Yes.
Is a very big thing. Our budget is almost 40 crores, 38 lakh crores. 38 lakh crores, So we are saving at least
30 lakh crore have been saved because of stopping leakage and pilferage in last 7 years.
Stopping the
naturally a
pilferage of
person who
benefits.
is delivering on such a large scale to the people, his thoughts are going to get embedded in their mind. People say that he is a person who is performing. So his other ideas of cultural rootedness, of pride. For example, in Gujarat, for example.
So how do you rate, very quickly, because we don't have much time left, how do you rate this latest slogan that Mr. Modi himself has been repeating when he interacts with people across the country, and his government has also been, a sort of hard selling in its outreach to the people through advertisements and all, the Modi ki guarantee? Do you think it is reaching the people it is meant for, and how much of a political capital you see coming out of it?
When the delivery, you have to link it to the delivery. When the delivery is over 90%, 80%, 95%, then it is going to strike. And you see, there is no sphere where India has not progressed manifold in the last 10 years. I call it a phase of national reawakening. This is a phase of national reawakening. If you put it in one sentence, it is a phase of national reawakening.
So
India is discovering its full potential. India is discovering its lost pride. So this is a phase of national reawakening.
Swadesh Singh, is it proving to be a period of national reawakening
yes,
quickly?
Yes. So if you see the politics of last 10 years, and you can connect, which I have mentioned in my book, that during civilizational consensus also, so there was a civilizational national reawakening took place after Bhakti movement, after 400 years. So see the kind of wordings Swami Vivekananda, Dayananda, or Savarkar, or Arvind, or Tilak were using. If you see the same kind of vocabulary is being used by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his politics of last 20 years, especially in last 10 years. So you can connect that ideological foundation of Modian Consensus can be found in the civilizational consensus from 1870 to 1910, and so we are witnessing this is the India's movement, this is the civilizational movement for India where civilizational awakening is taking place.
This is a civilizational moment for India where the country is awakening and trying to first to realize its potential and then to achieve the optimum through that potential. My direct question to you, since you have gone through a whole lot of research and study and analysis of last at least 150, 200 years to write this book, your quick comment about how do you see this consensus playing out in 2024 Lok Sabha, because we are barely some weeks away from the general elections.
So as I have said that you have to have crossed a threshold around certain ideas, and I am claiming that that threshold has been crossed, and it is not about just winning one election, as Prime Minister himself has said that we have to chalk out plan for next 25 years, and this election, this third term will decide for our politics for next 1000 years. So the kind of scale he has, so if we means me, you, and every Indian wants to achieve and want to become part of that agenda. He is calling it Viksit Bharat. So definitely means if you see that if that consensus has been achieved, what I am arguing, so definitely the result would be positive for the current government under the leadership of Narendra
Uday
Modi.
Maurkar, since you have been a keen observer of Mr. Modi's politics ever since his Chief Minister days in Gujarat, and your book was one of the pioneers that came out as a documented element of that the period in Gujarat. How do you see the politics of Mr. Modi playing out in 2024? Do you want to hazard a guess about the kind of vote share he is likely to win, or the number of seats, or what kind of a support do you see or you do not see?
No, I see huge support for him. His Tamil Nadu rally 3 days ago was a pointer. You see, you cannot organize such people on such a large scale.
Tirupur rally.
Yes, that rally was eye-opening, I would say. And I personally feel that he might do better in Tamil Nadu this time, the BJP, under his leadership, So
You
I
mean
think
the South Bastion, which is always, referred to as the weak link of the BJP's gain, might be breached this time?
in Tamil Nadu, not in Kerala maybe, but in Tamil Nadu, yes. And you see, he has also identified the right kind of leaders. Annamalai is the right kind of leader, So he is taking Mr. Modi's vision forward.
And you want to hazard a guess on the overall India situation of the next Lok Sabha?
I think it will. The BJP will win much more seats than what it did last time. I can say that.
Fine. I think there were one or two issues I would have liked to throw some light on and get your perspective. But gentlemen, we've just about run out of time. We'll have to put a stop to this conversation for today. But as you mentioned, Tamil Nadu, we do wish to focus on what's happening in Tamil Nadu soon, and we may have Mr. Annamalai to say about it himself in one of our coming episodes. But for now, I must thank you both, gentlemen, for coming to our studios on a weekend and sharing your history, your perspective with us.
Thank you.
Swadesh Singh, would you like to show the book
Yes.
that you have for the benefit of our viewers and how they can understand what you meant by this Modian consensus in bigger detail? Uday Mahurkar, thank you very much for finding the time to join our show. We do hope to have you more in future in one of our discussions.
Thank you.
And Swadesh Singh, all the best in the coming days for your book and many more such efforts. For now, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you.
Viewers, it is rarely that a leader arises on whom everybody who likes to read or write wants to write something with a special take. But definitely, Narendra Modi is such a leader on whom many books have been written in the past few years. But there is always that one X factor which every other author finds different and wants to share about. Modian Consensus is one of such books. So do read it and find it for yourself. But meanwhile, for this weekend, it's a wrap up on Media Scan. Do join us next weekend on another interesting episode. Till then, namaskar.